We're going to talk about our brand new book today. Just off the shelves, it hit just around Halloween. It is the first edition of the William Richert papers. These will be, there's going to be at least a dozen volumes of papers and letters and email and everything that Bill has ever written. His widow Gretchen Richert has been compiling into volumes. We're going to see things like all the letters he wrote to the people he worked with in the movies. Elizabeth Taylor and John Huston. And I haven't seen a lot of that book yet. Gretchen's compiling it for me now, and I cannot wait. I used to love listening to Bill tell me these magnificent stories. Bill, what was it like working with John Huston on Winter Kills? And John was the best. He was the absolute best. He would say, "Bill, you just tell me where to stand because I know my lines," which is fantastic. How about my favorite Bill story? Bill calls me up and said, "I don't know if I ever told you the story. I was out on my balcony one day reading my scripts, and Frank Zappa was my neighbor at the time. And Frank called the cops on me for reading my screenplay too loud on my balcony. And I said to him, 'Frank, I have to read it loud. How else can God hear me?'" I love that. I love that story so much. Another thing Bill would do, because he was very, very close friends with River Phoenix. He gave River one of his first meaty adult roles in a film called Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon, which was based on Bill's memoir, Aren't You Even Going to Kiss Me Goodbye? Semi-autobiographical, but it was River's first leading role as a young man, without Harrison Ford in The Mosquito House, or Judd Hirsch in Running on Empty, or any of those, or was it Little Nikita? Anyway, Bill and River bonded over shared experiences, especially over childhood religious trauma. What else do we have to bond over? And they became very close. And Bill's drum for me, among his many drums, his drum was, River was not a drug addict. Whether he experimented or dabbled, he was not on drugs the night he went to the Viper Room. He was murdered. And Bill has told me who the murderer is, and I'm going to cover my ass and be a wimp and not say it here because Bill names him here. Bill has named him online. It's a public record. Bill feels that River was murdered at the Viper Room, and then just about everyone there was either complicit or too panic-stricken to do anything. But there was a quote that Bill used to say to me was, if anybody truly loves River Phoenix, who was there at the Viper Room, he'd still be there today. And Bill pulls no punches in these books, and Gretchen has assembled damn near everything, if not everything, that Bill had written on River. Sometimes I would call Bill and he would say, "I just found something. Hang on a second. Let me." And then he'd fiddle around with some pieces of equipment. He'd muddle to himself like Popeye was going along. I need to take this. See, the problem with technology. And then he'd finally, "Okay, so I found this voicemail that River left me. I don't know where it was, but it's his song." And River will start. I will hear this tinny, scratchy audio cassette of River Phoenix playing a song. And midway through, we go, "Oh, fuck, shit, that's an A. Bill, that was an A. Hold on, I'm going to start again." And it's so eerie. So getting to hear songs that he'd played for another person who's passed, it was like listening to a ghost. If you go to williamrichert.com, I think it's still up there, you can probably order his version of A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. And it doesn't vary too much from the theatrical release, except for the music. Bill had a much different musical score in mind, and it would have ended with one of River's songs. That Jimmy Reardon implies that he's a poet, and at the end it would have been one of Jimmy's songs at the end. He put River's song back into his director's cut, and I think you can still get it up there. It's williamrichert.com. It's well worth checking out. It's a marvelous performance. It's one of Matthew Perry's, I think it's his first starring role. As a matter of fact, I think Bill discovered Matt. Because Perry was there with a friend and wasn't there to audition, if the story is true. So, again, this is going to be the Collected Richert paper. Oh, try that again without the ring. This is going to be part of the Collected Richert papers. This first volume. It even has River's autopsy notice in it. So it's thorough. And I'm really proud to be putting this stuff out and preserving it, if for no other reason than it's important, that an important man had a voice and had something to say and was relatively ignored for the last 20 years of his life because of Aaron Sorkin, because of the WGA. This, if you haven't picked up Executive Privilege, this was the book that Bill and I worked on. This is the only collaboration I actually had with Bill Richert towards the end of his life, and it's like the rest of the Richert papers, though this was sort of the template for it. Aaron Sorkin stole The West Wing and The American President from him based on a script called The President Elopes, which was based on research he had done into a 60 Minutes thing called The President's Daughters, which half of which was killed by the Nixon administration. There's no way to tell a small William Richert story because he lived such a rich life, and I was very, very lucky to have been part of that towards the end. So there we have. If you want to read about a fascinating human being, grab Executive Privilege. This is Bill's last memoir. And if you're a River Phoenix fan, and I know most Gen X people, he was our Heath Ledger, I don't believe he was a drug addict. I believe that he was killed by someone who resented a good deed that River had done. And it's in here. It's spelled out in Bill's own personal way. Again, last minute help by Ryan Hose for this border and keeping it really nice and clean. These are the best photos we could come up with that would reproduce, and I'm really happy to see them here. Here's a personal piece that River had autographed to Bill, and Gretchen was kind enough to translate it because it's impossible to read. I'm told this is a dangerous book too, that the Phoenixes might be coming after me or whatever ridiculous cult there is, but it's all public record. It's Bill's words, and I stand behind Bill. And if we get a cease and desist, well, then this book will disappear for a while. But it's available in print and on ebook. There's nothing special about the ebook because this was printed in black and white, so it's just a little cheaper. And if you like your pads, it reproduces really, really well.